Hi friends, welcome back. How is your day going? June 12 annulment will haunt me for life, says IBB. Muhammad Babangida reveals his father's confession. It would be a gross understatement if you describe him as a chip of the old block, save for his height about 7 feet and broad frame. He is a perfect replica of his father, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, in appearance, character, and intellect. Like his old man, is deeply intelligent yet witty, very introspective yet genial. Above all, a gentleman who, according to his friends, is generous with his time and perhaps his resources. Over the past 20 years, Muhammad, a security consultant, has made his mark in diverse business endeavors like banking, real estate, education, and oil and gas. He has also served on the boards of Unity Bank and Nexim Bank, where he heads the committee of the board on finance and general purpose, credit and strategy. A polyglot and outdoor adventurist who passionately loves playing polo, basketball and tennis. Muhammad Babangida has also served on the boards of several government private organizations, both at home and abroad. If you're just joining in, kindly take a moment to tap on that subscription button if you have not done so, and very importantly, the red notification icon bell. Make sure it's tapped so you'll be notified whenever videos are uploaded. Apart from breaking off his father's shadow, Muhammad in his interview spoke about the day his world metaphorically collapsed when his mother, Dr. Miriam Babangida, succumbed to cancer. He also talked about the scariest day of his life, April 22nd, 1990, when Major Gideon Oka led some middle-ranking soldiers and subalterns to attempt to sweep the carpet of his father's feet at Doddan Barracks, Lagos. The coupist almost got General Babangida and his family, having penetrated his official residence and broke into his bedroom, but the general escaped through a default route with his family. Muhammad was abroad at that time and had to endure 24 long hours before he could get news about his father. Those were the longest hours of my life, he said. It was the scariest moment of my life. Indeed, the coup was one of the bloodiest in Nigerian history. Apart from Lieutenant Colonel UK Bello, General Babangida ADC, who was shot and killed during the coup, Dimka, General Maman Vasta, and 40 others were convicted and executed via firing squad. Muhammad Babangida also told the story you never heard or read anywhere. He recalled that night in June of 1993 when his father made a nationwide radio and television broadcast annulling that year's presidential election held on June 12, 1993. General Babangida avoided the vote when it was apparent that his friend and candidate of the Social Democratic Party SDP, Bashorun MKO, Abiola, was coasting home to a landslide victory. Young as he was then, Muhammad said he and his brother Aminu asked their father why he cancelled the vote that would have seen his friend rule the country after him. Rejecting the word challenge, Muhammad recalled that they were in the family expansive living room at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa Abuja when his father walked in. We were in the living room when he had done the recording. Muhammad recounts he came and he said, "I just annulled June 12th. We both looked at each other and we looked at him and said, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "You are too young to understand the intrigues of governance." And we said, "But it is about you and your administration." And he said, "Well, perhaps this is something that will haunt me for the rest of my life." So you could see that his hands were tied. He was limited. He couldn't do what he would have wished to do. And this is probably a story most Nigerians don't know. Now I'm going to read some excerpts here. What does it mean to be the first son of General Ibrahim Babangida? He was asked. He said, "We thank Almighty Allah. It is a rare privilege and a great honor for me to have a dad like my father, who is highly distinguished. He has taught us so much and I'm very privileged to be his son." But conversely, what burden or burdens down the name brings to you? Being his first son, there is no doubt there is that weight you have to carry. There is that burden you have to carry as his first son. It's always there, but on a scale, I think the benefits and the privileges outweigh the burdens. And wherever we can help, we are definitely able to come in and help people when the need arises. Overall, we are very privileged to be the children of our Father. That's what he said. Can you let me an insight into few of the burdens that you have had to carry as a first son, the heir of Babangida's family? He said, I think the first thing that is always in the minds of people when they encounter children of such great Nigerian would always be something like, these children, this is always this perceived idea of the character of the children, a stereotyping of some sort, which is always wrong. There is the idea of they are spoiled children, they do not have the discipline and stuff like that. For us, having to break through the barrier first in most cases is a big challenge. And we know this, and by the time they interact with us, then they realize we are not that stereotypical tag they put on such children. That is one of the burdens we had to carry and we had to overcome sometimes, a very big issue for us. How do you handle it? He said, be yourself, be as natural as possible. He was asked, people generally believe that you people from privileged homes live perpetually under the shadow of your rich or legendary father, mothers. People don't give you credit for your personal achievement. How do you handle that challenge? He said one of the biggest issues in the society is that people are not ready to look deeper than what is on the surface. On the surface, it appears like you narrated that we are just here. We are privileged children and we don't need to do anything. Then again, you remember that the shadow of our father is so large and we as children are trying to create our own shadow somewhere else. Somehow it's quite difficult because these are people who have been in the thick of things for maybe 40 years of this nation, whether at the level of the army or at the national level where he was president and so on. Trying to break that has been a problem. It was asked other questions like, how do you feel when people say your father is a living legend, or when some people in some quarters would say your father would have been a perfect president for Nigeria, but this and that? And of course, how do you react to the June 12, 1993 annulment? He said, for me, the first thing that I would like to say is this: I will look at it in relation to this topic in the human nature. First of all, as human beings, we are not perfect. We are bound to make mistakes, and then society, no matter how good you are, no matter how well you think you have done in governance or leading, there will always be a section somewhere who will have something negative to say about you, irrespective of whatever type of position, whether it's the presidency, head of department, or whatever the case might be. So when people say those negative things, I would always bring out the positive. I would always let them realize that no human being is perfect. There is no head of state or president in the history of this country that has been able to exit with a perfect record. And he said, and he was asked, does it hurt you? And he said, yes, I was very disturbed at it, but one thing he always said was that we should develop a thick skin to such criticism. As long as the intent was not evil or negative, or it is not malicious, then leave the rest. Do your part. Give them the other side of the argument. Like June 12th, we all understood that it would be one of the biggest things that will remain as something that will haunt us for the rest of our lives. We understand that, but I'm sure deep down in my father, he would have passed on the mantle of leadership to his friend, but there is no doubt about that. To Bashor M.K. Abiola, he was asked, he said, yes, like he said to me when I encountered him on the issue. I said, why did you do this? He said, well, it's part of governance that you don't understand as a young boy at that time. So to me, mistakes have happened, or what matters is how you rise above those mistakes. We have learned as a country there have been tremendous benefits for some group of people who have benefited from that mistake, who are in the helm of affairs currently today, because it was from that you saw the Southwest become so strong and now develop to a point whereby their leader was able to create a bloc for the region where most of his proteges were in leadership positions at that time. And these were people who benefited from the annulment of June 12th. So there was always a positive side of that annulment, which gave rise to what we are saying today. In as much as it was painful experience, the nation has, I think, grown out of that by now, and we have mended fences from that hearth. The president now has been able to recognize the family. He has also been able to cool tempers, and we hope from that we should just be able to move on. That is just my position. And it was like, the day you challenged your father on June 12th, what was his reaction? He said, I did not challenge him. It came to me, to us, me and my brother Aminu. Aminu, he said, yes, we were at Aso Rock Presidential Villa at that time. We were in the living room when he had done the recording. He came and he said, I just annulled June 12th. That is what he said. He couldn't do what he would have wished to do, and this is probably a story most Nigerians do not know. So, about the annulment of June 12 and why he had to, I think probably there are certain cabals that still exist till today, and of course privately his own interest too. There were certain groups of people that felt that they needed to just cut off June 12 and cut off the Yorubas at that time. They cut off everything. So that's my own take about this. There are a lot of cabals, and these cabals are still in the government as at now. They are still running the show on the ground. Not too loud, but they are subtle in their ways of doing things. So just imagine now, there are a lot of mixed feelings anyway. Some people said that MK Abiola wasn't that clean, that he would have already sold Nigeria to the United States of America. There was never going to be that good president as a lot of people expected or thought. But I wouldn't know, because the man is late and I'm not privy to certain informations. I cannot really prove any of that. But the point is that democracy would have come in again after a very long time of military dictatorship. Unfortunately, it wasn't so. What we realize is a Yoruba man, Hausa man, president and vice president, one was killed, he was incarcerated and was unable to take over. And the same group of people that are part of this military, they remove their uniform, they're part of the civilian rule now. They claim that they are involved in democracy. They are actually practicing nepotism and dictatorship, just like this man that is there now. I don't know why these people are not tired of that position. If you've been a military dictator, why don't you stay at home? You've got into the height of what you can do. You're not coming back to repair anything, because you are already stained, and you should stay where you are. IBB is not trying to become president now. He's not, because he knows Nigerians will never vote for him. And moreover, the man is suffering from some illness. He can't even put on shoes. So it's a very terrible thing. Politics is very extremely, it's a terrible thing, the kind of politics they practice in Nigeria. That's why a lot of people are asking for a breakaway. Like, all right, we're forgiving everyone. Okay, let us break apart so that we can have our own nation. But like I always say, let us be conscious of corruption. Corruption, greed is what has brought Nigeria to this point. If you look at the beginning, from 1960, we had a democratically elected administration, Igbo man, president, prime minister from the northern part of Nigeria. Somehow the north found a way of occupying all of the parliament, more than the southern part of Nigeria. Yes, we know all of that. Soon, what happened next? The Igbos also looked for a way. They planned a coup and they killed, without killing that Igbo man, the president. They killed all the rest of the people that were at that time democratically involved in that government, although they had their own vested interest, so they weren't that so pure. So this gave birth to counter coup. From counter coup, they had a meeting in Ghana. Ojukwu was part of the meeting. All of the military leaders were part of this meeting in the hope that they could come up with a solution. And they said, all right, you know what, let us continue to run this show this way. But unfortunately, because of that hatred, discontent inside of them, distrust, corruption, evil that resides inside of them, everything scattered apart, and it resulted into civil war that saw a lot of Biafrans, Igbo people died. A lot of Igbo people died. Some other part of Nigerians, not civilians, military personnel also, they died. A lot of people died. There was a lot of bloodshed. And ever since then till now, we've seen nothing better than that same corruption. So corruption is endemic. Corruption is the order of the day. Greed, evil at the doorstep of everyone. That is the problem. So when you break apart, don't forget you are breaking a portion of that evil, that criminal activities, that inimical activities, that subterranean activities, that politicking, corruption. That's what's going to break with you. So let us work on that too. That's my take for this. Kindly tap on that subscription button if you have not done so, and also the red notification icon, but please kindly tap on it so you'll be notified whenever videos are uploaded. Thanks for stopping by.